12 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. This is news analysis coming to you live on Politics and Business Television. The top stories. Presidential jet Abiodun consults FG as Utomi tackles emotion. NNPC battles deepening fuel scarcity, black market booms. Selfish leaders holding Nigeria down, says Obasanjo. Details coming up shortly. Welcome back. I am Idris Amina. Now the news. Ogun State Governor Dr. Abiodun has reached out to the federal government in a move to resolve the disputes with the Zhongshan Fusheng Industrial Investment Co. over the controversial Ogun Free Trade Zone. Abiodun reportedly consulted top federal officials on Thursday as a professor of political economy. Pat Utomi accused former Ogun State Governor Ibikunle Amosun of revoking his property deal with the state's government. Multiple Ogun State officials who confirmed the development on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak on the matter said Abiodun went to Abuja last Thursday to engage the federal government officials over the seizure of the presidential jet. The move by Abiodun to resolve the Ogun Free Trade Zone debacle came to light as Utomi and Amosun clashed over a revoked property deal. Utomi had in several posts on X.com on Saturday said he was also a victim of the decision of Amosun to cancel contracts signed by his predecessor Otumba Gbenga Daniel. He narrated how he suffered to pay back millions of naira in loans after Amosun allegedly cancelled the contract he had with the state government. Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has vowed to end the queues for premium motor spirits, popularly called petrol, by Wednesday as the black market for PMS boomed on Sunday. NNPC also declared that it did not owe international oil traders $6.8 billion as claimed in some quarters, a development which some industry watchers describe as a major reason for the widespread PMS scarcity in Nigeria. Despite the national oil firm's assurance that the queues for petrol would clear this week, oil marketers said on Sunday that the loading of products at the depot had yet to improve. Black marketers of petrol who sold the commodity in jerrycans took advantage of the situation as they dispensed PMS for as high as 1,200 naira to 1,500 naira per litre, depending on the area of purchase. This came as the sole importer of the commodity, and NNPC blamed the petrol scarcity on evacuation challenges at PMS vessels. NNPC is Nigeria's only importer of petrol. Other dealers stopped importing the commodity due to their inability to access the United States dollar required for petrol imports. The former President Olusegun Obasanjo has said Nigeria had been much better and occupied a place of pride in the world but for its problem of self-centered leadership. Apart from being self-centered, Nigerian leaders, according to Obasanjo, also have a knowledge deficit. The former president spoke on Saturday in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, during the 2024 edition of the Leadership Empowerment International Conference. The conference featured the conferment of Doctor of Leadership and Theology awards on some Nigerians by South African-based Emmanuel Theology Institute International in conjunction with Priesthood Leadership Development Initiative, Inc., based in Nigeria. This is news analysis coming to you live on Politics and Business TV. Still to come, food crisis may worsen as flood hits 10 states. Details of this and more after the break. Welcome back. Following the floods that have ravaged farmlands in the northern part of the country, agricultural experts and big-time players in the agro-allied industry have sounded the alarm over an impending food crisis across the country as agricultural fortunes dip in the north. The experts insist that unless urgent and very drastic steps are immediately taken, the crisis may worsen as floods continue to ravage farmlands in the northern states. According to media reports, an agricultural investor in Toro local government area of Bauchi State, Bello Yakasi, urged the government to declare an emergency in the food sector across the country. Investigation showed that continuous rainfall across the region posed a threat to grains and farmlands, which could lead to a poor harvest and hunger as farmers battle the scourge of drought. As a result of the effects of the twin threats of flood and drought, some farmers in Kano State, especially those within the 14 local government areas that are at a high risk of flooding, as predicted by the National Emergency Management Agency, have continued to express fears about possible flooding in the state and have begun praying against flooding as rainfall persists across the 44 local government areas. And now the national chairman of the ruling Progressive Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, has dissociated himself from the viral poster indicating his presidential ambition ahead of the 2027 election. The poster, which has the image of the former Kano governor as the APC presidential candidate and Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State as his running mate, was captioned, "The winning team 2027 votes APC 2027. But in a statement on Sunday by his spokesman Edwin Olofu, the APC chairman described the posters as the handiwork of the Kwankwasia movement belonging to ex-Kano governor Rabiu Kwankwaso, while describing it as a malicious piece of fake news. The APC national chairman denied nothing such ambition, which he said was created to cause a rift between him and President Bola Tinubu. Still, you are watching news analysis live on Politics and Business Television. It is no longer a rumor that some Nigeria assets have been seized by a Chinese company over a controversial dispute. Join us shortly as we dive into the seizure of Nigeria presidential jet by a Chinese company. Have the chicken come home to roasts? Stay tuned. Please hold on, sir.
Hello?
Please hold on a bit, sir.
I'm with you.
Welcome back. Now let's dive into the Nigerian assets. Nigerian private jet, presidential jet that was seized by the French companies. A French court has seized 3 jets owned by the Nigerian government amid a long-standing dispute with a Chinese company. The row stems from a 2007 contract between Zhongshan Fuchang Industrial Investment and Nigeria's southwestern Ogun State to develop a free trade zone where a massive industrial park was to be developed to attract investors. The agreement was terminated between 2015 and 2016. According to media reports, Zhongshan said it was forced out of the deal through a campaign of illegal acts. The authorities in Nigeria have fiercely condemned the seizure of its planes, suggesting Zhongshan had the sole objective of undercutting and scamming an African government. A total of 3 presidential planes have been grounded in France after Zhongshan obtained orders from the Judicial Court of Paris. The planes were receiving routine maintenance at the time, Nigeria's government said. In a statement by spokesperson Bayo Onanuga, Nigeria's presidential office accused Zhongshan of mounting a wider campaign to seize its assets overseas. This arm twisting tactic by the Chinese company is the latest in a long list of failed moves to attach Nigerian government-owned assets in foreign jurisdictions. He said in March 2021, an arbitration tribunal chaired by the President of the UK Supreme Court awarded $74.5 million, that is 57.8 million euro, in compensation to the Chinese firm. Ogun State reportedly refused to pay these amounts. Media reports also has it that Nigerian-owned buildings in the British city of Liverpool were recently seized by a UK court in relation to the same dispute. Last Friday, the United States Court of Appeals ruled that Zhongshan could proceed with its effort to confiscate Nigeria's assets abroad. The court also rejected Nigeria's defense of sovereign immunity. This and more as we x-ray Nigeria's debt and its economic consequences. Mr. Wale Joshua, a chartered accountant and tax administrator, will be taking us through today's topic. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Wale Joshua.
Good afternoon. Well done.
So, firstly, I want to know how embarrassed and worried you are with this development.
Yes, the development surrounding the contract, the agreement, has been embarrassing and frustrating to the quest of Nigeria in winning foreign direct investment. Apart from this, it has been frustrating knowing fully well that cash flow will be lost in respect of this contract. And when you observe this contract critically, you agree with me that the cost awarded is not only the cost of the asset, rather the cost of the asset plus including the future profit the company will have made from this agreement. This agreement ordinarily was not entered into by the Nigerian government as a federation, neither was it entered into by the presidency. But the frustration surrounding this case is that the presidency has been dragged into this diplomatic row, and apart from diplomatic row, presidency is about to lose a lot of itineraries, a lot of plans, a lot of manpower in respect of the grounded airplane. And don't be surprised that many other assets are being earmarked in settlement of this arbitration. So when any entity in Nigeria, be it local government, state government, federal government, the hands of the government, should read in between the letters, should check in between what the agreements are, and should seek legal opinion, whether through a private or through public means, in order to understand what is within the agreement. Apart from understanding what is within any agreement, it's pertinent or it's reasonable for any international agreement, any international agreement between two or more entities should pass through what we call the treaty review. We have a lot of treaty which has to do with many sectors of the economy. We have the tax treaty, we have the economic treaty, we have the treaty in terms of Interpol, we have the treaty in terms of this Chinese versus other countries trade. This affected the Ogun State government. I believe that many clauses within the agreement may not be as revealing as what is under the treaty. The company chose. I'm with you.
I'm listening.
The company chose to go by the treaty, jettisoning many things that are under the agreement, so that he may seek redress, whether justly or unjustly, against the Nigerian government. So we are facing a kind of diplomatic row, which Nigeria needs to discharge as fast as possible. because the interest rate is counting in foreign currency. When we think about what Nigeria is going to lose, we should look at what OGFC has contributed to the economy of Nigeria in large. OGFC was designed to make the export processing of Nigeria, make it a superb one. But what has Ogun State benefited from this particular company?
Exactly. So okay, we can say this is very disheartening and displeasing. So how involved is the Ogun State in this controversy?
Ogun State is where it started from.
Yes, how involved are they in solving this? Because as it stands now, all the frustration are being put on the federal government and the presidency. So is the Ogun State, are they left out, or they are involved in bringing back our jets and in solving this problem entirely?
Whether we like it or not, Ogun State has to be involved because they are the direct beneficiary of the contract. They are in direct control of the contract. Whatsoever they signed, whatsoever the under the table deal, whatsoever be the interest which has been filtered into, should be explained by Ogun State government. Whatsoever the bargains that they had with the company should be explained by the government of Ogun State.
Okay, yes.
And from the governor, from the then governor, Ibikule Amosun, he said he was deceived into signing the agreement. That's in the public domain. He was deceived into signing agreement. Does that constitute signing under duress? Does that constitute signing under deceit? All these are to be explained to the arbitration or to the court of law. Then we have lost the stage of explanation to arbitration, so we are on the legal proceeding, which makes the arbitration a starting point. So the judgment of the arbitration has been gotten. So to vacate the judgment of the arbitration is either we go back to the arbitration through Ogun State government or go back through diplomatic means through the federal government. So the two entities, that is the federal government and Ogun State government, cannot absorb themselves from this particular case because it has turned to diplomatic route. And when we go internationally, what they see is Nigeria, not really Ogun State.
Exactly.
And we're trying to build in the diplomatic ties into this particular issue, which did not hold water. Whatsoever a judge pronounces becomes a judgment, becomes a law. So we need to vacate the law. No amount of grandstanding by Nigeria can vacate the judgment, except if we take many other steps, which I will discuss.
Let's go back to the Chinese company. Would you blame them? Would you say they've gone too far, considering the fact that Nigeria government most times do not keep to contract agreements it signs?
Well, I will tell you that nothing is fair or unfair in the jungle. We are here for survival, and the company is there for profit making. As much as it can get the judgment of the court, get the judgment of the legal panel. It's really a good one for them, and they can capitalize on it to build their profits. When it comes to international trade, it's just like submitting yourself to the dictates of the engine and the pilot and God. And most of us investors, we don't want to wait till when we reach heaven before taking our profits from God. We want to take it here on earth. So I wouldn't blame the Chinese company. As a patriotic Nigeria, I will tell them that they've gotten an unfair deal from the Nigerian government. Rather than that, they have exhausted some legal channel which has not been favorable to Nigeria. So if we have started on a good ground, why ending up at a litigation ground? Governor Ibikule Amosun, the then Governor Ibikule Amosun, said that he was deceived into signing this agreement. What extent of deceit made him to sign the agreement? What extent of undisclosed information made him to sign the agreement? It's a subject for another day. If that is fair, then they should tender it to the jurists to make sure that they capitalize on this to vacate anything that becomes the judgment. So in my own opinion, everything is fair in the jungle until when the survivor for the fittest takes preeminence.
Okay. So isn't it high time contract agreements are properly checked and reviewed by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice to avoid this embarrassment?
Yes, it's a good suggestion. There should be no agreement that passes through the shores of Nigeria without the Attorney General's consent. Not only that, without the National Assembly's consent to know what the benefits, the cost and benefits is, and what the agreement reads, and what the clauses of agreement reads vis-a-vis many other treaties, vis-a-vis many other similar contracts, vis-a-vis many other bilateral contracts, which may take a flip in invalidating the agreement and making the treaty or the bilateral agreement is a better option than the agreement. Because in this case, we have the agreement on one side, and we have the Chinese investment treaty on the other hand. Chinese investment treaty subject all companies dealing with Chinese, all entities dealing with Chinese company, subject
Nigeria?
them to yes, whether in Nigeria or elsewhere. I'm being careful not to mention only Nigeria. So
Okay.
it subject them to a treaty which has many clauses. One of the clauses includes the arbitration clause. If the arbitration clause is there, who decides who becomes the arbiter? Then where will it be situated? Will the arbiter favor an African country? Because African country, whether we like it or yes, we are still at the weaker point of the stick. If we don't have the strength to negotiate technically, that means we are the weak part of the bargains. So if we are the weak part of the bargains, the law of arbitration should have protected a country like Nigeria, or spell everything out without keeping any clause. One of the clauses means the arbitration. Where did they do the arbitration? Was the arbitration between the federal government or between Ogun State and the company, the investor company? Was the arbitration between the initial company and the new company? Was it between does it encompasses all the parties involved? Does it absorb the Nigerian government? So those are issues which the Attorney General and the National Assembly should look at. So if a state is taking any loan or any agreement, if a state is entering into any agreement, they need to route it through their state assembly first. Then their Attorney General should take it to the federal government, which becomes a subject of the two. That is the executive power derived from the Attorney General, and as well as the legislative power derived from the National Assembly. It's not just what any other person can sign. If you look at the trade environment of the world nowadays, you see that it's becoming hostile and it's becoming very, very complex, and it needs complex team to crack whatsoever we want to do to have the better deal of the game.
Maybe going forward, if these steps are taken, we will not find ourselves in these embarrassing situations. So lastly, don't you think government officials need to undergo training on contracts and agreements? Because it seems they don't even really know what they are doing.
Well, training is dynamic. Training is dynamic as whatsoever agreement you want to sign. And you agree with me that free trade zone, as of when it was signed into law, was a new terrain within the Nigerian space. So if you are training, will it be an international training, or will it be a local training? If you are training, will they attend the training in the fullness of the commitment, or will they take the training like as if it's a serious business? So most of our entities, they sign without even considering the implication. So the best bet is to take into cognizance the essence of the Attorney General and the essence of legal team. It's not enough for government officials to go to have his own legal team and look at it alone. It's another thing to have a private legal team to look into what the international space says about this particular about any agreement, about any treaty.
Yes,
then
yes.
we have a kind of professional duty professional negligence. We'll have been talking about professional negligence in this regards. What I would advise the federal government to do is either to look into diplomatic agreements with Chinese government, between Chinese government, Nigerian government, and this entity, or look into calling this particular company and possibly offering him another term of agreement, so that we look away from the fine and look at what we can use in setting off this particular case. Another point which Nigerian government can take cognizance of is to engage a bargain, which is to engage a lobbyist for the in direct relations to the company, to lobby the company into making a soft landing for the Nigerian government, both Ogun State and federal government in this case now. So if we can do this, I believe that we can either vacate the judgment from litigative point or from a moral agreement point. So that would be a good one if Nigeria can explore that. Apart from that, Nigeria should look at assembling a team of good legal minds to look at its agreement. You agree with me that the case of P&ID comes to mind when we are reviewing agreements with international community.
Okay,
Apart from that,
yes.
African Free Trade Zone comes to mind, which stipulates that is Nigerian gaining from this. It took President Muhammadu Buhari many months before signing that to law, considering many other things. I believe that there must have been bureaucratic decision in tackling that, maybe meeting private legal teams and public legal teams in ensuring that we don't sign our future into the hands of African Free Trade Zone. Yes, it is binding on all African countries, but Nigerian case is peculiar. So we need to review many treaties, and we need to look at many agreements with Nigeria as an entity has entered into with many entities of the world. How does it speak to us? How does it speak to our tax? How does it speak to our investment? How does it speak to our arbitration and litigation parts? So those are the issues we need to consider. At this juncture, the President Bola Tinubu should constitute a team to review many treaties which we have with many entities in this so-called globe, on any part of the globe, whether with the Bahamas or whether with the Asians or whether with the Europeans or whether with the Americans. We should look at each clauses and should advise each entity well on how to terminate this, rather than using immigration police and every other thing, every other uniform officers to terminate agreements.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Wole Joshua. That was very wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that has been Mr. Wole Joshua, a chartered accountant and tax administrator. That will be the size of our program for today. Bye for now. I am Idris Amina.